Trent, welcome back.
Thank you, Nick.
It's been, I just pulled it up before, 2 years since we last spoke. What's been happening?
Mate, a lot. I had my second child. So I believe when we first spoke, Wild would have been turning one, my first son. He's now about to turn three, and Sonny is approaching one. And yeah, so second child, living the family life. I've just sold my gyms. So I've removed myself from that business, the day-to-day. And yeah, looking at the next chapter.
Awesome. And today's going to be a bit of a different episode compared to the first one where we dove a bit into your journey and business and everything like that. And I think today we'll still touch a bit about business, but more so how we can balance growing a business and being successful financially, but also spending quality time with our family and not neglecting that and not pushing that to the side. Because what I mentioned to you before around, there is a lot of people that are seen as successful, and I put that in quotation because they're seen as financially successful. But when it comes to the relationships that they have with themselves and with their family, it's not there, and they've sacrificed that for the financial aspect of success. And now myself becoming a father and a business owner, it's definitely challenging. We still have bills to pay. We still have goals and aspirations as men, but we don't have to sacrifice the family for that. It may take longer, but I feel like going down the route of not so much balancing, I think it's like counterbalancing. Counterbalancing, pursuing your goals and family, that's where the fulfillment comes from. And that's going to be the basis of today's episode. So if you're not interested in this, tune out. But this is what this episode is going to be about. For you, Trent, what have been some of those struggles that you've dealt with when it comes to building a business and being a father and a partner as well?
Yeah. I love it, mate. I love this topic. It's where I live my life now. So when I had my first son, Wild, we discussed last time, but not to that full depth. Life could not have got any worse in that first, say, kind of 3 to 6 months if it tried. So I had a couple of gyms at the time, and I also owned like the parent company, looked after those gyms and a separately owned licensed gym. He was born. It was an amazing moment, as you know, like when you hold your own flesh and blood, it's kind of life-changing.
It's a different feeling, man.
Massive. It really rocks you. But then I actually hit this point of, probably the lowest low I've been since my adult life. He wasn't sleeping through the night. He had silent reflux. So we're getting probably like on average 3 to 5 hours a night, wife and I. Two of my main coaches at my Carlton facility, they both moved interstate at the same time. My business partner was away on holidays in Europe. So I was looking after the whole business, had financial stress with the coaches leaving, had my wife, postpartum depression, neither of us sleeping. And just had this feeling of this overwhelming crushing of like, okay, how am I going to feed my family? It was always like looking after me was pretty simple. It's like, if I got brought down to zero, I could get back to where I was. But then when you have a family, you don't have that option. You don't have that out anymore. So I really escaped through food and alcohol. Didn't train as much because I was tired all the time. That was the excuse. So I just got worse and worse time went on. Probably like 3 or 4 months in, I gained about 8 kilos of body fat. I was out of shape, no energy, wasn't leading well my team. My relationship with my wife wasn't where I wanted to be. Everything just started kind of fall apart. Okay, and then I had this moment where, I remember it clear as day, I had this like 3 or 4 hours of sleep night. My son was just screaming all night, wouldn't take the bottle, silent reflux, still hadn't been diagnosed at that point. I then go to work the whole morning. I come back, I'm like probably midday at this point. I cannot wait to put my head on this pillow. Like I'm so exhausted, just let me lay down, have some rest, because I'll get back in the afternoon for the afternoon shift. The moment my head hits the pillow, I hear this roar, like my dog's outside, they're in a fight. So I sprint out, I'm like, what's going on? They're going nuts. They're big boys too. So when they fight, they fight.
Yep.
So I've gone up to grab them. As I'm tired, I just put my hand in the wrong spot. The big one's got me right there, take me down to the bone. Oh. And then I'm sitting there, like finally stopped them fighting. I'm bleeding. I'm like, you know what? The first thing I thought was, I don't get to sleep now. I have to go sort this out because dog bites super infectious. I'm down to the bone. I'm like, I'm going to have to go to the hospital. So I'm sitting there in the ER, out of shape, feeling like crap. Felt like my life couldn't get any worse. Looking at this thing going, I got this stitched. I'm thinking to myself, like, how did I get here? And like, I kept waiting for something to get better. I kept thinking, oh yeah, like it'll change later. He'll sleep eventually. I'll start training again. I'll feel better. Like I'll work out the finances. Everything will sort itself out. I was kind of expecting like the universe or something extrinsic to myself to come and fix it. And I went, hang on, like I've been coaching at this point for 8 years, had the footy career and stuff before that. I was like, every time you've ever gotten out of a place of bother has been you doing something. You stepping up and going, you know what? I need to get moving. I need to take action in these areas. I'm like, this is no different. No one's coming to save you. No one's going to change this thing. You're the man of the house. You're the man of your own life. Fix it. So then, yeah, the next morning I woke up, stitches in my hand. Not in a good way, but I figured, you know what? Today's the day. I'm starting right now. So I began running, doing leg training every day because I couldn't do much upper body just yet. But I started from there on, I'm training every day, no more alcohol. I'm going to eat well, at least for the first 6 weeks. Okay, that's all I'm going to give myself and see what happens from there. From there, what I did was I got myself in a stronger physical and mental state to deal with all the other dramas of life. I now had more energy to deal with it, even though I'm getting less sleep still. And then things started to fall into place. So my biggest learning from that first phase of life was it's going to be brutal with a newborn. It is. It's always tough, especially as a man. You lose, like, shift your identity, lose a bit of freedom. You got to like really bunker in and sort that out. Same for your wife. But if you don't look after yourself, if you don't look after your health, if you're not moving your body well, if you're not training, if you're not eating well, if you're drinking more than usual, not getting as much sleep, every other part of your life will just feel overwhelming and crushing. But the moment you do look after yourself and put yourself in a better spot, you'll have the same problems, but you'll be a much stronger person to deal with them. It's kind of like going to war. Like, if you're going to go to war, you want to make sure you're as strong as physically possible, mentally sound, switched on, and ready to rock. You want to be trained in those areas and strong. Going to a newborn baby can feel like war sometimes.
Yep.
And if you make it hard on yourself and you have a few too many beers at night and you wake up groggy and you're doing bottles during the night and you're sleeping in and you're not training, I guarantee you it's going to get so much worse.
It compounds.
It does.
Very quickly. Very, very quickly. And for me, probably 6 months ago, I was in a position where I was putting a lot of energy into the business because it was just kind of starting off, and I was stressing about finances and providing for the family. And the thing that took the back seat was my own health. I wasn't training, and for me, training and sport has been a massive part of my life, just like it has yours. And you notice the downfall in your mental health when you're not training.
Oh, huge.
Like, it's not just physical, it has an effect on you mentally, physically, and spiritually. And now, these last 6 months where I've gotten back into full-on training, doing CrossFit style, I'm going to be doing Sydney High Rocks this year, signed up to do a boxing match as well. So, like, my energy is going into training and being my physical best self, because I know through doing so, I'm able to turn up as a better version of me for my family, for my business. And then when challenges arise, because that's going to happen, that's life, you're mentally prepared to be able to go through them and not stress as much. Like, you're in a much more clearer mindset compared to if you didn't train. You're going to be all sluggish and shit, which a lot of fathers go through. And they stay in that, they sit in their emotions, and they let their emotions control them instead of them controlling their emotions. And emotions are not bad, but you got to learn to control them and understand that why they're arising. You don't just sit in them. You may sit in them for a little bit to, I guess, to become aware of what you're feeling, because I think as men we need to be aware of what we're feeling and understanding why they're coming up. But at the end of the day, it always comes back to taking action.
Yeah.
Because the longer you sit in it, like, what use is that to you?
Yeah, it's rumination. And rumination for men is horrific. So they've actually found women tend to do better spending more time ruminating to a degree. So things bounce back and forth in the mind, and they share things with the community and discuss it. That's why therapy is amazing for women. Men need a degree of that, but men need action as well.
Yep.
Like, we can't just do therapy for years straight and take no actions, just talk about our problems. We need to actually have something to apply it to. See, I couldn't agree more, man, because I think a lot of men out there, they go through that newborn phase and they think, I'm the only one struggling. There's something wrong with me. Like, I'm a poor father, I'm a poor husband. And I think it's important to get it out there that the strongest of men find that period really tough, because you're going from, most men, especially if you're achieving a fair bit in life, you're pushing your own personal kind of adventure the whole way, and your own goals and your own drive. And then all of a sudden you get married and have kids, and there's so much more that is away from, I guess, your big objective. If your big goal was to achieve X, Y, and Z, now you do A, B, and C as well. Every single day to make sure that A, B, and C is okay. So all of a sudden you've got this fork in the road. It's really important for men to realize it's okay to shift the goalposts of your goals and the way you want to spend your life. Because something we talked about recently is how important your family needs you. They need that time. And the biggest regret I believe in life would be if you sacrifice family for career.
I agree. And I think it's great that we're having this conversation because I want to ask your opinion when it comes to becoming a father or becoming parents with your partner. A lot of the focus is on the woman, the female. She's obviously, grown that child inside her, giving birth, everything. Like, there's a lot of stress and that comes with that. And a lot of the times I feel the men are neglected, and I don't think it's intentional, but I think it's just a natural thing that the focus goes to the mother. How do you feel as a society we better, I guess, have these conversations that men actually do struggle during this period as well?
I think it's important for men to talk to men. So women won't be overly understanding because they've gone through hell.
Yep.
They understand what that's like. So it's a different kind of hell. And I feel as though you want to speak to people who have been through similar and are going through similar, because a woman won't fully understand the pressures that a man feels. Okay. And we'll never understand what they go through with carrying that baby for 9 months, where when they're pregnant, we go off to work, we're not pregnant. We're just living our normal life.
Yep.
They're going through pregnancy every day. They're worried about every kick in the stomach, all those kind of stresses. So we can't fully understand that. Same as they can't fully understand our crushing, I guess, pressure that you've experienced starting a business, going full time into that of, I've got to feed my family. I've also got to be physically healthy. I've got to be fit. I've got to make sure my mind is clear. I've got to make sure I'm a great husband. There's an enormous amount of stress and pressure that goes on the man that only other men who have been through it or going through similar can probably understand. So yes, I think discussing it with other men, but then getting tools from them. Don't just talk. Don't just complain. Don't just, I guess, vent. It's like vent to a guy who's been there and say, how did you get through it? What did you do? And there's pretty simple things you can put into your life that will completely change that entire experience. You don't have to suffer for 6, 12, 24, the rest of your life, months. You can think, you know what? I'm going to change things right now. I'm going to put little stepping stones in my road, in my path, so I'm not falling in the water every 2 weeks.
What are some of the tools that helped you? We obviously mentioned training is a big aspect of that, but what are some of the other tools that you feel helped you during that period?
Yeah, it's not about like training for the sake of fitness. I think that's where people get wrong. They think, okay, I'm just going to work my ass off so I look better. That's not what it is. It's about how can I put myself in the best physical and mental state to deal with the pressures of being a father. So what I found really fundamental and important was getting in the best shape of your life through doing the right things. So first thing in the morning, what I teach my clients is get up and do some kind of visualization practice. Okay, so for me, it's priming, something I've kind of derived from Tony Robbins and his teachings, which is a massive mentor in my life. But essentially, wake up in the morning, discover gratitude, have love and connection or spirituality, if you believe in some kind of God. And the last one is see the visualization of the future you want. Okay, because if you sit there every morning and you're sitting in it with motivational kind of music and something to liven you up in your ears, and you're seeing your life in a year or 2 years or 3 years time, exactly how you want it to be, the way you look, the way you feel, the way your family is, the way you interact with your wife, your child, the way your career is looking. If you see that and you feel it and you're living in it, then you come out of that and you're like so pumped up, you want that so badly, and you write down 5 things that day you're going to do towards that goal. Then after a whole year, when you've been achieving those 5 things a day, that's like over 1,800 things you've done towards the outcome. Okay? So visualizing your future is super important, because if you don't do that, then your life will just kind of direct you in the way it wants to go. And in the moment, we're not very strong. So I always tell my clients, on a Sunday, map out your week and know exactly what you want to do that week for that outcome. Okay? Because then little bitch you is going to come along on Tuesday and try and change that plan. So you don't trust the little bitch yourself Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You trust Sunday you who's thinking about the future. Because on a Tuesday morning, the alarm goes off at 4 o'clock and you go, oh, you know what? I don't feel like doing this right now. And if you stack all those don't feel like doing it right nows and you don't do any of them, your life's going to be terrible. Or if every time you beat that and you just jump and you do the thing, then you start building self-confidence. You start building this belief that I do what I say I'm going to do. I'm that guy who when I say I'm going to do 100 calories on salt bike, I do that 100 calories. I don't stop at 90. I don't stop at 80. It builds like an intrinsic self-belief. So priming first, keeping your word to what you said you're going to do with scheduling is super important, especially as a father where life's chaotic and things change. Get as strong a schedule as possible and usually do it first thing in the morning before life wakes up and it all gets intense. So yes, priming, building a schedule, keeping your word, and then eating to nourish your body and moving your body, that training. Okay, it's not about looking your absolute best. Of course, looking good is going to feel good, but it's about feeling good mentally and being proud of the man you are to best deal with the problems that you better face.
And everything you mentioned there, what it comes down to ultimately is discipline. And the way I see discipline now is it's self-respect in action. We've got to have self-respect for ourselves, and we've got to take action on that. There's going to be mornings where you don't want to get up and do your priming, visualization, training, whatever the thing is for you. You don't want to eat healthy that day. Yes, have a cheat meal now and then. You know, you only live once. But there's going to be times where you just don't want to do anything. You want to sit in your emotions. You want to be a slob. But coming back to, okay, in this moment, am I actually having self-respect for myself? Because when you don't have self-respect for yourself, what does that show your family? Like, you don't have respect for yourself, you're not going to have respect for your family. You're not going to turn up as your best self. So you're not valuing them as well. So it all comes down to having that discipline. And people say, oh, you need to have motivation. But motivation only gets you so far.
It's fleeting.
Yeah. You need to have the discipline. That's what's that intrinsic drive that's going to continue you on this path of being the best version of yourself.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. Like, it's about keeping your word to yourself, because everything's built off that. If you keep your word to yourself, then everyone around you is going to be able to trust your word, and you're a man of your word. Your family, like your kids, if you say, look, you know what, I'm going to train every morning, Monday to Friday, and your kid's old enough to know what's going on, and daddy's sleeping in, not keeping his word to himself, and you're lying to them by saying you're going to do it, then what kind of lessons are they going to learn? They're going to learn from you, okay, when dad doesn't want to do something, he doesn't do it either. Cool. If I don't want to do something, I won't do it either. So I think that self-belief that I can believe what I say I'm going to do is enormous, and it compounds in every area of your life. There's an old saying, how I do anything is how I do everything. And if you approach everything like that, with your parenting, brushing your teeth, what you do for a job, how you train, you don't cut corners, your life will turn out insurmountably better. And as a father, as a parent, you'll be an incredible parent because you're doing all the little things to the best of your ability.
And I think it's going to be hard to hear for a lot of fathers out there, but I believe you're letting your family down if you're not prioritizing your own health and being your best self. Yes, you may go to work and you may provide financially for the family, but your kids don't really care about that to a degree, right? They care about, are you being the best dad? Are you spending time? Do you have energy to actually spend time with them?
Huge.
If you're coming home from work, yeah, you've put food on the table, great. But if you have no energy to actually give your children, your partner, that's where resent starts to crawl in. That's where the breakdown starts to happen, and you really do not only let down yourself, but you let down your family.
Yeah, man. Most men who I've worked with over the years, they've come in for that sole reason, that career's going well, they're feeling good in that area, but they come home every day and they're exhausted. They have no energy for their kids. And my goal for them initially, let's say they've got a trampoline at the back. I'm like, our first goal, we're going to lose weight, we're going to get stronger, we're going to get fitter, all that kind of stuff. But I want you coming home and having the energy to play on the trampoline. Half an hour with your kids. Like that intense playtime. And I made that my rule of thumb. When I was running the gyms, it's like, I'm going to come home by 5 o'clock each night. So we're going to do dinner, shower time, bedtime. But from 5 till 6, I'm going to be like a maniac. I'm going to run around, I'm going to bounce off the walls, I'm going to play with my son, now sons. And I'm going to be on the bouncy bounce, the trampoline. And we're going to enjoy those moments. And I'm going to have the energy to do that. Okay? And to have the energy to do that, go back to the start of the day. It's the priming, it's the visualization, it's the cold shower, it's eating well, it's drinking water, it's doing breath work in the middle of the day. It's stacking all those little things. You don't have to do all of them, but to give yourself the best chance to feel amazing, you got to at least be eating well and moving your body. If you're doing that daily, you're already off to a freaking great start. But a lot of men, like you're saying, who just sacrifice Monday to Friday is just purely work. I'm going to work 12 hours. Wife's got the kids, get home exhausted, live for like an hour and a half on the weekend. We actually got some energy to do something with them before you get tired again. That's not life. And you can have both, but it's got to take some give and take. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so conscious in the last 3 years, I've sacrificed a lot of money to spend more time with my family. It doesn't mean we've gone hungry. It doesn't mean we're poor. It means that I prioritize that over making a little bit more. Just that, like, because there's never not enough. There's never not work to do. Like, when you run businesses, I could work till midnight if I wanted to. But I made it up 5 p.m. I'm at home and I'm doing that ritual with my kids. And I've got the greatest relationship with my 3-year-old son I could ever imagine. My wife says it all the time, like, the bond that he and I have is incredible. And not many fathers have that with their sons, because I just made sure I was there to do those things and had the energy to show up, compared to sitting on the lounge being like, oh no, man, I can't be bothered, I'm too tired. Go away, I'm busy. Like, I'm watching TV, watching the footy. It's like, he controls the TV. We're watching it. It's his stuff.
Yep.
Like, we're doing fun stuff. I'm never watching anything for myself these days, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's like me and my daughter. We have such a strong bond, and
I see that.
every day I'm so fucking grateful, because as you said, a lot of men don't have that opportunity, or they haven't created that opportunity for themselves, because they are stuck in the old ways of living as a man. Is like, okay, I just provide for the family and I don't really have a strong relationship with my children. And I have mates like that. They're on the tools all day and they come home late at night and they only see their kids for 1 or 2 hours a day. And it's like, as a father, these kids grow up very quickly and you miss out on so much stuff if you're not there.
Yeah. And I think, like, I've got compassion and empathy for those people, because there's some people who don't have a choice.
Exactly.
They are just stuck in a situation where they don't have the time because they need to work every hour that day to make enough money just to put food on the table. I think that's a different conversation altogether, is that, and getting home at 3:30 from the tools and just laying around having beers, or even worse, finishing at 3:30, going to the pub instead and having beers with your mates while your family's at home. I think that's what we're talking about, is like not prioritizing the time that you do have to cut out some actual time to be energetic with your kids and to show them what a healthy lifestyle looks like, going the other way.
And the question is, if you're that person finishing at 3 o'clock and going to the pub, what are you escaping from?
Family, like that intensity of it, because I had those same feelings. Like at the start, I was like, working more would be way easier than going home and dealing with a newborn baby.
Yeah.
It would be, man. Like, my wife and I both had that experience at the start where, like, work is easier. Like, whatever work is for her and I at the time, it was easy in looking after a baby, because we weren't used to looking after a baby, and you have no autonomy. So, like, you want to go to the toilet, you're taking the baby with you. Like, you just never get a spare second. But if you steer into the discomfort of being a new father, who naturally being nurturing isn't your forte, it's not what you're kind of built for, you don't feel like that's your natural calling. Your natural calling is going out, killing, bringing home meat to eat for dinner. If you steer into it, that's that true masculinity, is to understand that you can be that masculine achiever, but also a soft, loving father. And you can balance that masculine and feminine energy to be the best of both. So I'm very cognizant and aware that it's not possible for everyone to have heaps of time, but I believe you don't need heaps of time. Like, I'd rather have an intense hour and a half with my kids, it's just fun, play, connection, beauty, than 6 hours sitting around, I'm watching TV, they're playing with toys. It's not about the amount of time, it's the quality of time.
Exactly.
So whatever you can carve it out, but have the energy and the health to actually to live it. Not just sit around and be like, oh yeah, go play with your toys, chuck on Cocomelon, sit in the background and play on my phone. Like, they're those little decisions that you have choices around.
And also, I want to touch on, as you said, but there's a lot of men that they're just providing, they're doing what's necessary for their family when it comes to the financial aspect, and I would say most of them don't enjoy it. They're just going to work, doing what they need to do for the family, and they do want to spend more time with their kids and with their partner. And right now, they may be trapped in their own head of, I can't do this, and they're sitting here and they're listening to us and going, these fucking gronks, they're living the life, and there's a level of jealousy that may be coming up for a lot of men. What is your advice to them on how they could, in a way, escape the rat race and focus more on family and still be that provider?
That's a very layered question. There's a lot to it. And I understand where you're coming from. And that's what I was saying. Like, I don't want to shame anyone out there who does not have the time, because if you're working a trade and you've got a mortgage and inflation and interest rates, I understand. Like, life is tough right now. But if you do want to escape that, that's a long conversation, but it becomes about spending some of that spare time, whatever you can carve out, is to create that side gig. It's like you've done yourself.
Yep.
You're on the tools full time and you dove into podcasting. So getting something online is a massive step. But if your life is, you enjoy your job, or you don't, even if you don't love it, you're good at it and you make decent money and you're working 10-hour days, then just make sure that hour or two is something beautiful, because it's going to be difficult to give the answer for every single person watching this. Okay, here's what you should do, here's what you should do. But it's like, in the time that you do have, make it impactful, make it worthwhile, and look after your health. Because if you're not healthy, if you're not fit, if you don't have the energy, you won't earn as much money at work because you won't have the same you showing up. Like, who does better at work? Who does better at work and family? The guy's exhausted with low energy and he's just sitting here like this and he's just answering questions and he's just cruising. Or the guy's up and about and he's having a laugh and he's moving and he's shaking, he's doing all that kind of stuff. His career and his family life is going to be way better. And that comes from just being healthy. Healthy body, healthy mind allows you to have that energy to input to those things.
So ultimately, starting with your health, and you'll be surprised once you lift that energy and that vibration within yourself, there's going to be other opportunities, and your mindset will probably shift when it comes to what you want and the direction you want to go in life. But if you're stuck in that low vibration of just going to work and dragging yourself around every day, you're not going to get very far, and you're going to continue the cycle, which unfortunately a lot of men do and are doing right now.
Yeah, man, I think you're an example of that. Is you never have had the energy to work on the tools full time and create this podcast and create your media company if you didn't look after yourself.
Yep.
If you weren't training and you weren't eating well and you're drinking every day, there's no way in the world this would exist. You know what I mean? You'd still be on the tools.
Yep.
So I guess if people are out there trying to carve out some time and some energy to actually do a side project, something that might set them free, the 9 to 5 or the 6 to 3 or the 6 to 10, whatever it might be, is you have to look after your health. It all comes back to that. Whatever in life you want to achieve, you need to eat better, you need to move your body better, you need to practice some kind of mindfulness practice to put yourself in the best possible position to attack those demons and to find that way to win that war. If you're not doing those things, you'll always fall to comfort and be like, oh, I've worked a big day already, I've got nothing left. But you may have something left if you looked after yourself.
How has fatherhood shifted your identity as a man?
Great question. It's made me realize I didn't know what responsibility was before this. So, like, I don't think you ever fully understand what it's like to be responsible for anything until you have a human being who is directly responsible for their every meal, sleeping at night, protection. So it's made me far more risk aware. So before I had kids, like, I'd be in Bali, blind drunk, riding scooters, that kind of stuff, no helmet on, like doing the stupidest things you could as a kid. Then I grew up, had kids. Now I'm looking for danger constantly for them and myself, because without me, they're not in a great place. So you probably understand it as being a dad, you go out to like a public place and you're just scanning for dangers with your son or your daughter. With my sons, I'm like, what could possibly go wrong here? And you're constantly looking for danger. So I think I've just become far more danger aware and far more responsible for myself and for them, my own health, their health. And yeah, it's just about so much more than me now, which is a very freeing feeling. Like, if you go through life and you're all you look after, then how you feel is this massive issue in your life. I need to feel like this, and this to have a good day. Whereas as a father, I found that big time my feelings just fell by the wayside. It became about looking after myself physically and my health and my mindset to be in as good a place as possible to make sure that they're happy, they're looked after, they're cared for. And that makes you happy. Compared to before, where it's like, I need these 10 things on my list to happen today to be happy. Now it's like, family, happy, healthy, cool, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big shift for me.
You can have the shittest day at work, and you come home, and your kids are jumping around, screaming, laughing, and then you just zone out of that and become a kid yourself, and after you're like, fuck, today wasn't that bad.
No. There's bad moments, there's good moments. Like my mother-in-law, every time if she's at her house and I come home, she's like, how was your day? I'm like, great. She's like, you never say you had a bad day. I'm like, don't get me wrong, there was shit things that happened, heaps of them. But I'm not going to tarnish the whole day with that. There's bad moments, there's good moments, but you get to decide kind of the overall opinion of the day, and there's no such thing as a bad day. There's always those slithers, like I said. Come home, your daughter runs up, like you've saved her life, she jumps in your arms, says, Daddy's home. That's pretty great. If that happened today, that's not a bad day.
The best for me is when I go and train in the morning and I come home and she's in my bed and she's under the covers, just like waiting for me to come home, and she wants to scare me. And it's like, you may have had a shit sleep or you may have had a shit training session. You come home, it's like, fuck, today's going to be a good day. It just makes everything better. Kids are amazing, man.
They are. They're like this little cheerleader that just lives in your house and just makes everything better, and there's cheer for everything you do, everything in life. And they get excited about the most novel little things that we take for granted, like tractors, things like that, like construction sites.
Yeah.
Like everything becomes novel again. So yeah, it's the most beautiful thing in the world.
My daughter's big thing is trains. She loves trains. Every time we drive past, train.
Yeah.
but I bet you she'll be scared when we go on one.
Oh, you got me on one yet?
No, I haven't
Yeah,
gone
get
on
on one
one.
of those old school ones.
Yeah, I'll have to. I want to talk about the relationship with your wife, because that's a big challenging factor when it comes to having kids, because a lot of our energy goes to obviously the children, and sometimes we neglect the actual relationship with our partner. And for you, during, I guess, the dark times of the newborn and not having much sleep and not having really much time for each other, how was that with your partner and the relationship then, and how did you navigate that period?
Yeah, that's a good one. So the complexity of having a kid, any father watching this will understand what the last 3 to 6 months of the pregnancy, 3 to 6 months afterwards, intimacy is at an all-time low. Like, it barely exists. And there's a few men I coach at the moment online who are going through that, but I can't wait for that to come back. I'm like, it'll come back with time. But then I found you had to shift the version of intimacy you're doing. So like when things were rough for us and there's no intimacy and we didn't really connect on any other level in that time, we just talk. We'll just run in the business. You know what I mean? The business was the house, the baby. So I was like, we're just business partners, just sorting things out. Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do that? Can I do this? It was this constant just like give and take and asking favors of each other essentially to look after our son. Then when we finally realized what it was going to take, the second time around has been an absolute dream. And we realized you need other versions of intimacy. So like little touches, little holds, saying certain things, that became our intimacy. Where we reconnected again beyond that. And realizing that sometimes we have to have a moment together. Our son can be calling for our attention. He can wait 10 seconds to show him that mum and dad love each other and that we're here for each other. So that was huge for me. A huge other factor was I developed this check-in system. So something I've built like a document.
Yep.
Where essentially we go through it once a month and it's a check-in. Okay, where are we at with our goals? Our long-term goals, short-term goals. Where are we at with our intimacy? Where are we at with our life? How do you feel about me doing X, Y, and Z? How do I feel about this? And we get to share things openly. It's kind of like a half an hour check-in where everything's on the table. And that's where you can bring up that thing where you're like, oh, you know what? Well, I've noticed you're doing this lately. Every morning you're doing this thing where it kind of makes me feel like this. And then they get a chance to be like, oh, what? I had no idea. And they get to understand their behavior and go, I had no idea I was making you feel like that. I didn't know that was important to you. Cool. I'm glad I know now. In future, I'll try something different. And vice versa. We can go through our life, no idea we're neglecting a certain area. This half an hour check-in allows your wife to go, you know what? This thing here that you've been doing lately is really driving me crazy. Like, can you explain to me why you're doing it? And you go, holy shit, I had no idea I was doing that. And then you can correct your behavior. Because those check-ins, why they're so important. People sit on something and they let it build and let it build and let it build and let it build. It becomes this big boiling pot that explodes. Compared to those monthly check-ins allowing you the chance to stop and go, you know what? This thing's pissed me off. Before it gets too big, let's address it. And that other person may have had no idea it was going on. All of a sudden, they can correct their behavior. So instead of, say, you're on a path and one is doing this and the other one's doing that, every time you start to do this, that monthly check-in ideally brings you back. And you're back on the same path. And if you're off again, you bring it back. Because, especially with young kids, you won't even realize the shit you're doing that's driving your partner nuts, and vice versa. So if you don't bring it up, you don't discuss that thing, it just builds and festers and builds. And then 10 years down the track, there's resentment on both sides.
Yeah. I might have to grab that little check
Yeah,
sheet
I'll
off you.
send it through you.
Because for me, I'm going to be really honest here. Like, my relationship has been up and down, especially of recent. Just with life going on, being a father, business, everything. And as men, we can just get so absorbed in what we're doing, and we just shut off emotionally, and we don't share what we're actually feeling, especially in society where there's so much, I guess, mixed messages for men on, okay, what do we actually open up about? How open do we be with our partners? It is murky water for a lot of men to navigate. And now what I'm realizing is exactly what you're doing with your wife, is having those check-ins and then being open and honest about how you're feeling. Because if you're not open and honest, no one's a mind reader. No one knows what's happening. And how are you meant to improve your relationship or have these conversations if no one's speaking? And it is difficult. You got kids running around and having that moment to actually sit down can feel like impossible sometimes. And as of recent last couple of weeks, I've made a promise to myself that I'm going to be more open and honest, because it makes me feel good knowing that I'm getting that off my chest instead of holding it all in and then building resent, and then she's going, what the fuck, and just it's becoming a toxic energy then. So as men, it is hard, but it's so important that we do share our feelings. And I think the big thing with that too is not just unloading your feelings, it's going to your partner, hey, can we have a conversation? Because that allows them to be in the correct mindset to be able to, in a way, absorb what you're going to be opening up about. Instead of you just dumping all your shit, they get caught off guard, and then it turns into an argument. And then when it turns into an argument, that's, as a man, you get that negative response, and then what do? You shut down, and then you don't share. You fire up. Yeah, you fire up, and you don't share your feelings, and it just turns into anger. But the reality is, beneath that anger is actually pain and sadness, and the anger is just like a mask for that. So for us, we need to drop that mask and create a safe environment for us both to open up and to share. And that is how we improve our relationship. I'm no expert, and I'm still learning, but that's the biggest takeaway that I've been implementing as of recent. And still plenty of work to do, but you got to take action.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate you being so honest and open about all this. And I've been through my ups and downs too. Don't get me wrong. Like, it is tough. And that's why that process we talked about is quite handy, because you will have bad times. Things will be great, and then they get bad again. Great, bad again, great, bad again. That's life. No one has an easy life. No one has a perfect relationship. But by having processes in place, just like with your health, with those check-ins, it allows you to get back on track. Where a lot of the time, you're not unloading your thoughts and feelings. You're not just dumping on them. If anything, you're giving them, I guess, a reason, explanation for why you're being a bit quiet, why you're being a bit held off. You go, you know what? In that moment where the setting's set, your daughter's with your in-laws, wherever it might be, you get to sit down and say, I know lately I've been a bit remiss. I've been a bit quiet, maybe a bit snappy. I'm not excusing that behavior at all, and I'm aware of it now, and I'm going to fix it. I'm going to change it. Just to let you know, like, what's been going through my head has been this. And she's like, oh my God, I had no idea you're going through that. And it's like, yeah, that's okay, because you're not meant to. Like, you're not meant to carry this burden. You're the primary caregiver for our child. I'm out here doing this. But by doing so, here's all the stresses I've been going through. So I guess to not excuse my behavior, I am going to fix that. I just want you to know where I'm coming from. It's nothing to do with you, because that's what happens when you don't explain it, is they start to believe it's them. Because you're quiet, you're shut off, a bit snappier than usual. They go, is he happy with me? Like, what have I done? And then that starts to build in their head. So at least explaining, here's what's going on for me. Not excusing my behavior. My behavior is unacceptable. It should never be snappy. Or should never be, well, it's hard. Like, I won't be quiet. I'll work on that. But here's what I've been dealing with. And then they go, okay, well, if you just told me that, I would have known. You need a bit of time. You need a bit of space. Maybe we clear out an hour in the afternoon. We are feeling like that. We just go for a walk and come back and be the dad you can be. But just having that process, we get to sit down and talk. Like I said, I'm no relationship expert by any stretch. No either yourself. But having those check-ins, just like going to the gym, just like getting a massage every once in a while, you need to have that release, that fix your body, fix your mind. That helps your relationship a lot.
And the disconnection piece is massive within relationships, especially when kids are involved. We've spoken about having that monthly check-in, but and the little different ways of intimacy, the little touches with your partner. But when it comes, like, how long have you been with your wife?
It's a long time now. Yeah. We met when I first quit footy, so 2011. So what's that, 14 years? 14 years, and we had about a 2-3 year gap. So we're together for about 3 or 4 years. Yeah. Broke up for 3 or 4, and then ever since. Okay. So yeah, we've known each other for a very long time.
14 plus years. Yeah. When you're in a relationship for that long, you both grow as different individuals, and there is a part of you that becomes disconnected from each other. And then when kids are involved, as I said, the energy goes into your children, and yes, you may do those monthly check-ins, but how do you how do you build that connection with your partner again? And especially, it may have been a couple of years where you have been trapped in the cycle of just working and being parents, that you lose yourself and you lose your relationship. For you, what would you personally say to someone out there to build connection with their partner again?
I'll speak from personal experience
Yeah.
because I went through this. Once again, like not being a relationship expert, so I don't want to really tell people what to do, but I'll speak about what I did.
Yeah, it's all about personal experience.
100%.
Yeah.
So my anecdotal experience, which worked wonders for us, went through tough times when we had our first son, hit a point where things weren't amazing at all. And we felt like it came a point where we had to draw a line in the sand. So there's going to be built up resentment, especially after 10 years plus with each other. There's going to be little things over time that you've done, treat each other poorly, that's going to stack up. And my wife actually did it really well. She said, look, I'm holding resentment in these areas. I'm going to let them go from today when we have one of these catch-ups. I'm going to let go of all these things. Okay. And here's the person I'm going to be going forward is X, Y, and Z. I did the same thing. I said, I'm holding resentment for this. I'm going to let that go. And here's how I'm going to show up. And it was almost like a written contract where we wrote it down in a note. We didn't sign it. We're not lunatics, but we wrote it all down in a big note in our phones. And we said, I'm going to be this person. I'm going to show up like this person every single day. Okay. I'm going to endeavor to do this. There's going to be days where I slip, but this is my main focus. My goal as a human being, as a partner, as a husband or a wife, is to be like this. Okay. We both had them. We both agreed that's who I want to be with. And then every time we had a check-in, we'd look at those goals as human beings and go, okay, have I been showing up as this person lately? And then I have to answer if I've been showing up as it, and she have to tell me if she thinks I've been showing up as it. So then you're constantly keeping each other on that track. And you have it with empathy, especially going through something with the kids, but you go like, okay, do I feel like you've been showing up like that? Well, no, I think you've been trying in these areas, but I've noticed like you're kind of falling away in this. You're being less positive than usual, and you tend to be talking about just negatives most days when I see you. Like what's going on? Like what is it that's actually getting to you that's making you lean more negative than positive? So less of an attack, it gives her a chance to be like, you know what? Well, yeah, I'm just struggling with X, Y, and Z. Like I really need some help. And you get to step in, help in those areas as the man. So I think just once again, like open dialogue is massive and never attacking. Most relationships I've seen and where mine struggle was when you're kind of taking shots at each other. Instead of, you know what? Here's the behavior I've noticed. Are you okay? Like, why is this coming up? It's not you as a person at all. But I've noticed that every day, in the last, say, 10 days, this thing's happened, which isn't like you. What's going on? And you'll find most of the time, whoever the person is gets to open up and go, you know what? Yeah, because this has been getting to me lately. And that's why I've been doing that. And you get to correct the behavior. And I've learned that through 10 years around businesses with team was radical candor. Let's say I walk in the gym and someone's running a terrible class, like just not themselves, quiet, just like not focused on their phone. I'll wait till after the class. I'll pull them aside and say like, hey, Greg, what's going on, man? Like you don't seem yourself today. Like is something wrong at home? Like what's going on in your life? Usually before I even get to the behavior, Greg would go, oh yeah, me and my girlfriend are going through this. Like I'm really stressed. Like we had this huge fight last night. She might be leaving me. Now I know why. Rather than attacking the behavior, I'm like, here's what I noticed. Tell me what's coming, like what's going on, what's showing up for you, like why is this happening? And then they can explain themselves. If they answer nothing's wrong, I'm sweet, then you can correct the behavior and be like, oh, well, that's not acceptable. Fix this up. But 99% of the time, if someone's acting out of turn, if they're not being themselves, if they're no longer being that loving person you first met, there's something going on under the surface, whether you're doing it or they're experiencing it, that you can usually help out with, or at least have them feel heard and listened to.
Hmm. Who do you endeavour to show up as every day?
Every day is a strong leader for my family and for myself. So back to what we first spoke about this whole conversation is I want to show up every day from a strong place where I do what I said I'm going to do. I stick to the plan and I'm a loving, caring father who has energy for his kids and his wife. Okay, so not someone who is tired, lazy, snappy, quiet. The biggest thing I used to go through was I would just pull internal and like process things constantly around my family, around my wife. And then she would think something's wrong with her, like with us. I'm like, no, it's just me like calculating every part of life, make sure everything's okay. Men go internal and kind of go through that dialogue. So trying to be present as much as humanly possible. And I know for a lot of men out there, it's a struggle because I still struggle with it. There's moments where I fall into it. And my wife is really good being like, hey, like, you okay? Like, you're going quiet again. I'm like, oh shit, I'll snap out of it. But my place is to go inward and to think and to be like, is everything all right? Is that sorted? Is that sorted? So yeah, being as present as possible, energetic, loving, caring, and a leader who keeps his word.
You're speaking to leadership there, and you've been a leader in business, but what does it mean to you to be a leader for your family? Like that feeling, that knowing that you are leading your family and you are showing up as your best self as a father and as a partner.
It's the greatest calling on earth, I believe. And the only reason why I believe I'm doing a great job of it now, like I believe that I'm being a great father to my kids and a great husband to my wife, is all the mistakes I made through running businesses,
Yep.
through teams in the early days, through just screwing up every way you could possibly imagine screwing up. And then even the start of being a father has led me to learn all these lessons from failures to be like, no, okay, here's what it needs to be. And kids are pretty simple as far as what they need for you to make them feel like you're a great parent is they just want attention, they want guidelines, they want structure, but they want play. They want daddy to be active and to loving and mucking around. And I've got boys, so wrestling and throwing them around on the trampoline. Like, it doesn't take that much, but it takes you getting out of what you want to do. All I want to do most days when I get home, if I'm tired, as tired as you can be after a day of work, is I want to lay on the lounge and watch TV like everyone else, all right? Or we want to scroll on our phone. It's getting out of that and realizing what you truly wanted to do once you're doing it is be a great father. And when you're doing it, you feel way better than laying on the lounge watching another episode of your favorite show. You're in it and you're going, this is what life is. This is what living is. But with so many screens surrounding us and so many demands of day-to-day life, we constantly feel like we have to be doing something else. Something else, something else. It's like, just handle that stuff as much as you can outside of those hours and just give them that slice. An hour and a half of intensity with their dad might mean more than 10 hours with the nanny or daycare they had all day. They'll remember that hour and a half with dad.
And how do you set those boundaries within your life when it comes to, business and saying, okay, for example, 6 o'clock, don't contact me. This is family time. A lot of business owners struggle with those boundaries because they feel like they always have to be working and they have that desire to build their business. How do you set those boundaries? Because it's so important. We need to.
Yeah, it's huge. Delegation is massive. You need to have good people around you. Like if you're running a business and you do everything yourself, you're never going to feel free. You're never going to feel as though you can have time with your family without checking your phone 24/7. So for me, when I was building up the gyms, I always had people kind of insulation layers to myself to the point where I'd get home at 6 p.m. and I'd go airplane mode. So even if someone wanted to call me, message me, whatever, the gym's burning down, I wouldn't have known about it. Because I knew I had people in the right places who could handle those things where I could just live my life and be with my family. So I think getting good at delegation and getting good at letting go, understanding as a business owner, you may be able to do something to the highest level and the person below you might be able to do like 80% of it. But if their 80% gives you back 100% of your time, it's worth it. And then you can try and find ways to fill that 20% gap. But you must delegate and you must hand over responsibility and be okay with things not always being perfect.
And that's a struggle.
Oh yeah.
Especially, as you said, as men, you feel like, oh, I can do this job, right? And then someone only does it at a partial percent of what you can do it. You're like, oh, this is going to hurt the business. But would you rather that hurt your business or your family life?
That's it, man. And this day and age, the beauty of AI is delegating is easier than ever.
Yeah.
The way you can film content, where you can use ChatGPT for and many other softwares, where you can build structured SOPs and how-tos on every single thing you've ever done. So if anyone out there is running a business and they don't have that kind of thing in place, use AI to build standard operating procedures for every single thing you ever do, and then someone else follows that. If they follow that and they make a mistake, you can go back to it and go, okay, let's look at the SOP. Did you follow this to a T? Yes, but the mistake still happened. Okay, cool. There's something in the SOP that's wrong. I need to go back and fix the SOP. Or they didn't follow it. Cool. The next time, follow the SOP. So if you build out procedures and then you have people implement them, that takes a bit of the stress away. But if you just train someone as best you can and go good luck without processes, you'll get frustrated. You'll dive back in. You'll go, fuck it, I'll take it off your hands again. So it's really important that once you delegate something, it stays delegated. You never take it back, you delegate it, and you work with that person on it. And if they're failing, you figure out why they're failing. Are they failing because it's a skill gap or it's a process problem? Let's fix the process because the skills are fine. Great, I'll fix the SOP. Or if there's a skill gap, I can fix the skill by upskilling. But never take back the thing you delegated because it's so easy to keep on pulling things back because you can do it better.
Exactly. And that's a big thing I've learned within my own business. It's like delegating. For me, my big thing is the editing of content. Like that's the biggest time consuming thing. And there's so many people out there that can do that stuff now.
Oh yeah.
So I've delegated basically 80% of that. I only do like big important things, and that's given me so much of my time back. And it's been probably the best investment that I've made for the business and for myself, is delegating that. One, I can focus more on, for a business aspect, on the things that are actually going to move the needle forward and getting more clients and growing the business. But the main thing is, I'm not spending hours editing content. I can go take my daughter to the park whenever I want and spend quality 1 or 2 hours with her, knowing that the work is getting done in the background.
Yeah, I love it, man. Out of interest, did you find when you were doing all of it that you wouldn't do the thing you're great at, which is this? You do less of it, knowing how much work came on the back of it?
Yep.
Yeah, I fell in the same trap. When I was first doing the gyms and I was doing every single part of it, even marketing to get more people in, I'm like, if I do that, then I have to sign those people up. Then I have to onboard them. They have to build their programs. You know what? We're good. So like you find you actually stunt your growth because you're controlling everything. You can't grow at the same rate. So for you, it'd be like, I don't want this guest coming on, because if they do, I've got an hour or two of content I've got to snap up. I've got to build all the reels. I've got to do the whole thing myself. You know what? I'll do one every month or one every 6 weeks. You talk yourself out of that productivity because you don't want to do the annoying part of the job. So I'm a big believer in whatever business you're in, especially if you're in content creation, if you're good talking to people, is just do that. Let someone else do every other element of the business. Even if it requires giving away some equity or paying someone a lot of money. If it allows you to do more of what you're great at, the revenue will go up anyway. You'll have more profit.
Yes. And for me, as a media company, you can turn around content a lot quicker when you have other people helping you, instead of me having all these projects that I'm working on and taking weeks and stress and everything. It's like, I'd rather just pay you to do it. Yes, it may take away from my profits, but it gives me time, and that's more important.
Yeah. It leads you to looking for more work too. So if you give off that annoying stuff, then you could do 5-6 podcasts in the same space you used to do 2. Because all of a sudden you're not doing the back end work. You go, cool, who else can I speak to? Who else can I reach out to? So things start to grow off the back of that as well.
Yeah. You just got to overcome that that little mental barrier in your head of, fuck, I need to do everything myself. But no, now I'm in a much better place, knowing that my editor from India can do it while I sleep.
How good's that?
I want to ask you, what have your 2 boys taught you about life?
Everything, hey?
It's a big thing. Like, we feel as parents, we got to teach our kids everything, but I believe our children are our biggest teachers.
They've taught me patience. God, yeah, they taught me patience massively. Patience, how to sacrifice my own feelings or wants in the moment for a greater purpose. They've taught me a love that I never thought was possible on like the deepest kind of fundamental cellular level. Like, you love your wife, you love your family, you love your mates, but that feeling of like your own offspring is like, yeah, you would go through any brick wall, any problem for them. So they've taught me what love can actually feel like, and they've taught me vulnerability. Like, even right now, like, I'm choking up talking about it, which never used to be me. But then they've brought like a softness to me as well. So kind of like soften the masculine, which is like empowering in itself. And it makes you realize, I guess, what life is really about is that what we're experiencing as parents, I truly believe is what we're here for. And prior to that, everything was about achievement, yourself, enjoying the moment as much as humanly possible. Where now it's about their future, what that looks like for them, even if it means enjoying this moment a little bit less, working a bit harder, pushing through what you don't want to do. It all is for them, and it gives you this burning desire to not just, I don't want to put it about money, like, oh, earn as much money as possible, like I'm doing everything for them, I'll work really hard. It's like, it's working in every area of life. It's working on my health. It's working in our relationship, our marriage. Like, that is now one of the most important things in my entire life, is make sure that is flourishing, because I want my boys to grow up seeing how their dad treats their mum and seeing what our relationships are like, and knowing how to treat a woman by seeing their father do it. Where prior to that, my romantic relationship was probably just something that was there. It was like, yeah, we're in love, cool, that's awesome. Where now I truly look at it as something that I want to work on constantly for the rest of my life, to make sure that they've got this steady home that I can come from. I came from a broken home. We went over that bit of that last time. We had a really tough backstory. Now they've got this steady home where mum and dad absolutely love each other. They've got their boys, they've got their kids, they've got grandparents, they're together. This whole family unit that me and my wife didn't have ourselves as kids that we get to pass on to them. So yeah, they've taught me everything, man.
Yeah, it's a big mindset shift from, going from selfish desires to understanding it's more than you, and your desires, your goals that you're chasing. Yes, they may fulfill you personally, but it's the fulfillment you get is through seeing the fulfillment from the people around you, and that is the ultimate fulfillment. And as a man, I feel like that's the ultimate flex these days. Is if you can have a happy, healthy family and be that provider and chasing your goals, it's like that full balance of life.
For sure, man. Like we spoke off camera about, I've got a client who he works in law. He's got countless $10+ million clients. Okay, they're huge net worths. And he said pretty much every single one of them of the older generation, all they did was focus on money and work. Divorced, third time removed, kids don't speak to them, that kind of thing. So I think, like you said, the greatest flex these days is, are you financially sound? Are you good there? Are you a phenomenal parent who's connected with their family and their partner, husband, wife? And you're looking after your health. If you can get those three areas in a strong position, it may mean that the financial doesn't get to go as quite as high as it might have, but who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Like, I think it's about very much, say you're building like a tower, okay, and you've got these three poles have to be evenly balanced. If your finances are way up, weighing your fitness and your health and your relationship, it's going to crumble the whole thing. Even if all of them are only at 60% and they get to grow together, that's fantastic. But if you're 100% in one spot, the rest are going to suffer.
I did a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and the guest spoke about we have all these different balls of life, our health, our relationships, business. And if you drop these balls, business can bounce back. You can always make more money. You can always build the business again, start again, whatever the case is. You drop that family ball, you drop that health ball, you start getting cracks, and it's very hard to come back from. So you need to cherish those balls because they don't bounce back as easy.
It's a great metaphor, hey? Yeah, for like me as a new parent, if I think about it like that, it's like the business ball was a bouncy ball. It just sprung straight back. Where I feel as though the health was more like a bowling ball, not much of a bounce.
Yep.
And then the family's probably an egg, and that egg's just going to shatter. So if you drop the egg, you might not ever get it back. Business will bounce straight back. Bowling ball, you can get that puppy back off the ground.
Yep.
But yeah, if you drop the family egg, that thing's going to shatter. It's going to be very hard to put back together.
Definitely. It really does put life into perspective. You could be standing on top of the mountain, have the success that society tells you that you need to have, but if you don't have the true wealth of health and family next to you, there's no point even being on that mountain. It's a very depressing mountain to be on.
100%, man, and you're not going to be there for long. If your health's not good and your family isn't connected, they don't love you, then that's going to further damage your health, and yeah, you're going to die young. And that's the part of the thing people are forgetting. Like, we talk about health and showing off your family and being healthy and having the energy for them, but you also got to think about longevity. So something I do with goal setting, I train a lot of men between like 35 and 50. Let's say they're 45, he's 120 kilos, high blood pressure, borderline type 2 diabetes. People come into the program, and I often say to them, like, the first thing I do is, where are you right now? And have them describe exactly where they are. So not tell me your goals, like, where are you? How do you feel in your health, your fitness? How much do you weigh? Any kind of health markers we're worried about? They'll tell me their exact now, which is never great. Okay. Then we talk about, okay, if you don't do something about this, if we don't start correcting it, if we don't start getting healthy or losing weight, where are you going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? And the answer for 15 years for a lot of men is dead. If they're at that 40, 45, and they've already got high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes coming on board, they're 30, 40 kilos overweight, they're 40% body fat, that person has a very big risk of dying, okay, in the next 15, 20 years. So it's not just about, do I feel good, do I look good? It's like, okay, are you going to live long enough to see your kids get married? Are you going to be long enough to be a grandfather? So it's not just about this vanity where I want to look good. Of course, looking good feels good. Great. It's like, what quality of life have I got left, and how much life do I have left?
Fuck. That does put life in perspective, eh? Man, this has been a really good conversation. I love that we are having this conversation because, as we've both spoken about, a lot of men aren't opening up and having these conversations, and it needs to be spoken about more because a lot of men and a lot of our audience are fathers, and we do have a lot of these struggles that we go through, and just to have a conversation about it instead of keeping it all internal can mean that a man takes action and they make improvements on their life, or they continue staying down the same path if they just keep it built up and have that resent and anger. And who knows, unfortunately, what path they may take if we aren't having these conversations. And to have a platform like this where we can have this open dialogue and we can have this conversation, and the men listening can be like, wow, if these two guys can speak about it and I relate to it and they've gained an actionable step that they can go and implement in their life now, I think that is where the impact's going to happen. So I appreciate you coming on today and being open and sharing into your experience and giving the actionable steps, because it's going to help a lot of men out there.
Thanks, mate. Really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Last thing, is there anything else you want to leave the listener on, and maybe last piece of advice or something that you want to share?
Just from personal experience, man, if there's any expectant fathers out there, I would say don't let your health be sacrificed in the first 6-9 months, because you'll think, okay, I'm busy, I'm not sleeping much, and I'm needed to be with my wife and kid as much as possible, which is true. But you need that hour a day for you, for your own mind, for your own health, to make sure you can show up better in those moments. So if it came down to I've got 4 hours with my wife and kid, or I've got 3, the 4 hours is me overweight, out of energy, not feeling good, never had a moment between work and home, so I'm still checking my phone, still checking my emails. I'd rather the 3 where I'm fit, energetic, I've done my work, I've cleared my mind, I can show up and have a good 3 hours with them. So my biggest lesson to anyone out there would be, because I've been through it, I did the wrong, and now ideally I'm doing the right, it's working out better, is carve out time to look after your health. Do not let your health fall by the wayside for money or purely because you think you need to be around your family. You do, but you need to look after your family, your health too, because if you don't, everything will suffer. You'll make less money, I guarantee it, because you won't show up the same for your business and for your career, and your family will just fall apart because you are not the man you could be.
And for people that want to maybe potentially do some work with you, because you've sold the businesses now and you're going into the online space of helping men with these struggles, where can they best find you and work with you?
Yeah, man. Instagram's a good place to start. So Transformation by TJ is my handle. And yeah, that's where I just put out easy content for men to understand how to make these changes. Simple things around nutrition, training, bit of mindset. But then, yeah, if they want to talk to me one-on-one, they can through the DMs, and we can talk about what that process looks like. But yeah, man, it's become my calling, is to help men be better men for themselves, but mostly for the family. Because I've seen what it can do if you're not in a good place as a father. And I know that if we can help men be fitter, healthier, better minded, bit of mindfulness, and have a brighter future, then the kids are going to flourish and won't suffer anymore.
I love that, man. Thank you so much. And I'm excited to see your journey, as you mentioned, heading to Bali, going to live that nomad life. So that'll be good with the family.
Yeah, mate, I can't wait. It's designed around everything we're talking about. So creating that time freedom, that space freedom where my wife and I can spend more time as a family. So yeah, we're pretty pumped about it. In June, we're heading off. We're doing at least a year. And then from there, we'll map it out and see what happens from there.
Might have to do episode 3 when you come back.
We'll come over, mate. One of those.
Too easy, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.